All right, we have a few housekeeping things to take care of first. This meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and/or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office and in each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson? Mr. Cass?
Here.
Mrs. Luna? Mrs. Lindsay?
Here.
Mr. Lure?
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Capello?
Here. Okay, everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get to the main event, one more housekeeping thing to take care of. We typically open up for public comment. If there's any comment about anything germane to the district, the public can approach and sign in. If anyone has any comments or questions, they can do that now.
I have a question. Do I have to sign in?
To make a public comment?
No, it's a question.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What's the census at? What's our student census
We're
at?
1640, 1640.
6.
What's this year's budget at? 28, 29?
Tax levy wise or
Budget.
the total budget?
Budget.
The current is 31 million budget.
How much?
31 million?
What do you spend it per pupil? 17.5 is 28 and 16, so we're at 19?
I don't have those numbers with me, so I can get back to you.
Send it to me, all right? I'll shoot you a note.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, if not, I'm going to close the public comment portion at 7:08, and let's move to the strategic planning presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, for those of you who don't know, my name is Charlene Peterson. I'm from New Jersey School Board, and this is Matt Lee here with me. And we are so pleased to see the number of you that are here tonight, and especially the fact that we have some new faces here tonight. And I know some of you are asking, where are the name tags with the dots tonight, right? But you get to self-select your groups tonight, so we don't have the dots tonight. So I'm going to take you through what this final step of the process is for us. And this is really the most important meeting, because all of the work that we've been doing up until now has been to provide the information needed for tonight. So tonight we're going to write those goal statements. Tonight we're going to develop that roadmap. So the previous meetings were just giving us the information that we need to do this. So I'm just going to, again, we always start out the meetings with this basic definition of strategic planning, and knowing that we have new people here tonight, just want to make sure that you have that same understanding. And that is the fact that we're all here tonight to determine what is your vision as a community, as parents, as staff, as the Denville Township Schools community. What is your vision for advancing the achievement of your students? We want to make sure that as a community we work together to do that. So like we said, this has been a process, and we went through the process. At the first meeting, we answered the question, where are we now? And the way that we did that is the superintendent provided an overview, a state of the district report, and then as groups, then you further supplemented that information by identifying strengths, challenges, and opportunities of the district. Then the last meeting that we were all here together, we then moved up the pyramid to the vision, to that second part of the equation of where do we want to be 5 years from now. So we went through an exercise of visioning, seeing your district on the cover of Time magazine as a 21st century success. And as a group, you talked about if you were to open that magazine article, what things would you find in there, what's going on in the district, what kind of learning is taking place, what do the facilities look like, kind of, we asked you to throw all your restrictions out and just truly just brainstorm about what it is that you wanted for the students. And then, so now tonight then we're going to take that information and we're going to develop that roadmap of if we know where we are and we want to know, if we know where we want to be 5 years from now, how are we going to get there? And that roadmap is writing the goal statements. And so that's kind of what our job has been as the community, as the stakeholders, is to identify that what. What is it that we want to see the school district accomplish in the next 5 years? What is it that we want for our students? And then the administration will write the action plans as to how they're going to accomplish the what that you have identified. So that's really our job tonight, is to articulate that what statement. Everything revolves around your district's mission statement. You have a nice, clear, concise mission statement, so all of the work that we do, we always want to make sure that it helps support the mission statement. And the mission statement is always on the back of your agenda, so that when you go into your small groups, you have that information for reference. We concluded the last meeting with looking for those big kind of common themes or common buckets. We said if we had to put all the strengths and the challenges from the first meeting and all the visions from the second meeting, and you only had 4 buckets to put them in, what would those 4 buckets look like? And they needed to be big and broad enough so that those would serve as our goal areas. So the 4 areas that we came up with as a group were student learning and curriculum, well-rounded student, 21st century leadership and ownership of learning, and then facilities, class size, and security. So then after we came up with those last time, between then and now, what New Jersey school boards did was took all of the strengths and the challenges from the first meeting and all of the visions from the second meeting, and we resorted them. So instead of them being by the blue dot group or the red dot group or whatever, they're now sorted by which ones fall under student learning and curriculum, which ones fall under well-rounded student. And if something fell under more than one of these headings, then it was repeated or included in any of the headings that would be appropriate. So in these small breakout rooms right now are those sheets. So in addition to the big yellow sheets that are always in the rooms, there are also then the sheets that have those strengths and challenges. So tonight, instead of being separated by colors and by what's on your name tag, tonight we're going to be separated by goal area. So which one is, you need to look at these 4 and think about them, and think about which one is of interest to you. Which one do you want to work on tonight? Do you want to help formulate that goal statement? So when we leave and go into the breakout rooms then are divided by these 4 goal areas. I'm going to kind of take you through the process of what a goal statement looks like to kind of help you understand what is that final product that we're looking for from you tonight. So I'm going to go through some definitions, what's in a goal statement, and kind of the process for coming up with it. So again, those basic definitions, you're writing this goal statement you're writing, it's only one statement. So it's going to be a broad, overarching statement, and it is something that is going to be valid for a 5-year period. So that's why that statement has to be broad. But then you need to break it up a little bit more and help us understand what do you mean by that broad statement. Make it a little bit clearer for us. So that's what the objectives are. And typically there's like 4 or 5 objectives that help support each goal statement. So you'll write the goal statement, and then you'll be asked to write 4 or 5 objectives that help support that goal statement or help us understand the goal statement and break it down a little bit more. And then, like I said, so then those components are what will determine the what. And then the administration will write the action plans. So they'll take that goal statement and the objective underneath it, and then write a plan. They'll take that statement and they'll break it down, and they'll say what tasks need to happen to accomplish it, what resources need to happen to accomplish accomplish it? What kind of a timeline over the 5-year period? And what are those success indicators? How will we know as a community, as a staff, as the board, whether these things were accomplished or not? So those are all the types of things that are in an action plan that are outlining the how to the what that we have determined. So as we think about a goal statement, so here along the side is a goal statement. Create a safe and secure learning environment equipped to deliver 21st century programs. So the way that statement was broken down is first start out with an action verb, to what? You can increase, develop, obtain, complete. In this case it was to create. And this is on the back of your agenda, so that information is there for you to take with you in the rooms. And then to create what? So here's a statement now, what are you going to impact? In this case, it was a safe and secure learning environment. And why are you doing that? So what? What is the outcome going to do? So that we are able to be equipped to deliver 21st century programs. So you can see that that's kind of a big, broad goal statement that gives you some direction for what we're looking for in the next 5 years. So so this is what will kind of look like that. So this is what the group, kind of an excerpt of what that group used to work with to develop that goal statement. They had the visions from the second meeting, they had the strengths and the challenges from all of the groups, resorted by that goal area. So that's the information that the group started with. So that way we're using the work from the first two groups then to help guide the writing of the goal statement tonight. So here again is kind of it all synthesized. Their goal area was facilities and finance, safety and security. The goal statement was to create a safe and secure learning environment equipped to deliver 21st century programs. And then they broke it down a little bit further then and gave us some objectives to help us better understand some of the things that the group wanted to make sure was included in that broad goal statement. They said upgrade the facilities to be more energy and cost efficient, increase internal and external security in all schools, and upgrade existing facilities to be more structurally modernized. So we now have taken that broad statement and we now have given the administration some more direction or some more idea about what it is that we mean by that broad goal statement, so then they can now write some action plans as to how they would accomplish each one of those objectives under that goal statement. Now I can tell you when you get in your groups and you're staring at that blank piece of paper and you're staring at the strengths and the challenges, and I can tell you that some groups will start with those objectives and start with those smaller pieces that they want to have included in there first, and then write the goal statement from there. And some groups will do it the other way and start with what's that broad general concept that you want to have accomplished, and then what are those steps that are going to help you carry it out. So what you'll kind of have to see how the conversation steers and starts in your group, but know that either method will get you to that final product of a goal statement and some objectives. And I say there can be, we usually don't want more than 4 or 5. There can be less than that. Like in this example, there's 3. That's fine. Like whatever makes sense for your group to make sure that you're capturing the work of what's on the sheets in your room from the strengths and challenges and visions from the previous meeting. So your work tonight, like I said, is that you are going to divide into groups based on the number of goal areas. So we have the 4. That you can self-select the goal area based on interest. Now ideally we want somewhat of a balance to the group, so if everybody's going into one place and there's hardly anybody in another room, we might try and see if some people would be willing to, to move around a little bit so that we do get a good balance in each one of the groups. So again, like I said, you're going to use the strengths and challenges from the first meeting, the visions from the second meeting, write a broad goal statement, develop 4 or 5 objectives, the steps to accomplish it, and then similar to last time then we'll all come back in here and we'll report out what, we'll read what our goal statements were and objectives, and then we will have accomplished our job of what and developing a plan for the district to follow for the next 5 years. So does anyone have any questions for me before you go? Okay, so similar to last time, there's a sheet out in the hallway directing you to what classrooms you can go into for each goal area that's of interest to you. And then Matt and I will come around and check on you to answer any questions you might have.
Goal statement to make it fit that?
I think that's easy.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
Okay. I have my own opinions about where the correct, I guess I could.
Yeah, you do.
I did the last time. I kind of feel like a focus on experiential learning is, to me anyway, fairly important in terms of like hands-on. You know, maker stations is one of the things we talked about the last time, where there are a lot of different pathways, a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different subjects that kids can get interested in, and they will do so by not necessarily just directing themselves, but being able to kind of be hands-on rather than focus on workbooks, have actual in their hands, real life, there's the man with the maker stations, yeah. But real life ways of seeing and visualizing and understanding the things that they're playing with, right? And they're kind of learning by osmosis. Does that make sense to anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's not enough different ways of people learning. It's only one path.
Okay.
It should be, people learn different ways. So people learn through hearing, people learn through rote memorization, and there's a lot more memorization than anything, especially in middle school
Yeah.
area, I found. It's all of that, and that's all it is. And my daughter, she's an auditory learner, and she's been taking off her glasses recently. She's like, Mom, I can get this if I shut my eyes.
Yeah.
And just listen to it and just.
And if I can't see it, I can't get it. So
You
that's
know,
totally
see,
good.
I mean, there's all different paths that kids learn,
Yeah.
and hands-on is definitely one of those things.
And is that a good way to phrase it, experiential learning?
I was going to say focus on, that's just an objective, focus on experiential learning,
Okay.
you know?
So everyone
Put
thinks
that
that
down.
sense, I've never heard of
Why
that.
don't we do a
Just
rough draft and we might
Yeah.
have more and
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
can combine.
Sure.
I'm new, my name is Suzanne Steckert. I am a middle school teacher in another district, and I'm bringing to the group my experience having navigated a junior, and we are now in the college selection process. I have two very different children. One has an IEP and works like an animal, and the district for the most part has served her well. My son is very different. It comes 50,000 times more easily to him. And I am very concerned about the integration from his experience here at Valley View up to the high school. There are just two things I want to point out. The academic rigor. While I commend Valley View for offering algebra and biology in 8th grade, there's a caveat that it comes with it. These are classes that are not taught by a high school certified teacher. These are classes that do not use the textbook. These are classes that are not factored into their GPA. And these are classes that the children, even having been taught it in 8th grade, now need to test into. So that's just
That is
food
not
for
correct.
thought.
That's not correct. So I just want to clarify, because
Oh,
just
okay,
because
that's what
I don't
was
want
told
people
at the
going
high
forward.
school.
We use the same curriculum, the same tests, and the same text as the high school. They actually write the tests, and we take their tests. And we only have high school certified teachers teaching Algebra 1, geometry, and biology. I just want to be really clear, because I don't want anyone to think that that's not the
I'm
case.
going to give,
You want them, they want to
My-
focus
my-
on.
My definition of well-rounded student would be students who understand the nature of and the elements of community, and who understand the elements of the nature
Exactly.
of democracy.
Well, and that's part of like your political science
Yeah, but
and your
you-
social
that's-
science.
Yeah, all the
Right.
rest of it is peripheral,
Right. So I think
and
that's something,
more suited to curriculum, I would think.
I think the best way to answer that is that if we all kind of read what happened with the last meetings, because right here, this came out of all the meetings put together, and see if that piece fits in here, and how we can incorporate that piece in here.
I
Yeah.
can also go to,
Those things on the top of that T again.
right.
Teamwork, communication, perspective, networks, critical thinking, global understanding, project management. That's good, it's strong.
Right.
It crosses both areas.
I
That's the whole
know.
point, and it's like.
And I don't know if it also
everything-
crosses
everything, and the
21st
whole point is
century.
So,
That they have general knowledge in all this, and they can bring it together into their focus area. So they can collaborate across all of the disciplines, right? But then also use it for their focus area.
You have a big sale here, brother,
I
because
know.
you want to sell it across both
I understand that,
curriculum
but I
and
have
social.
I have 2 children in kindergarten right now, so I want to see.
Right, the investment.
If you were to state that as an objective, I don't know that in this area, we necessarily want to say, okay, you know what, we're gonna change the goal area name.
Okay.
But what if we put it as one of the objectives of our goal statement?
I don't think you can dismiss it, quite
I'm not,
frankly.
no, I'm not
I'm
trying
not
to
saying you
dismiss
are.
it.
I'm not saying you are, I just don't think you can. I think it might be structurally appropriate across both areas. I'm not saying, and I hear Bob, and Bob is, I get it, it's somewhat business related, but some of these things, like perspective, is not necessarily business related, right? So,
You know,
it
critical
may
thinking
cross
is
both.
like
How you
just-
sell, it's up to you. I do selling all day, so
I
that's
don't.
up to you,
No,
brother.
I'm not a salesman,
I'm gonna
so-
sit here and let you see how you get your grip, but
Well, no, I'm just, saying that's,
it's smart.
Right.
Where'd you get that?
just Google.
Not Google, what did we do before?
Alta Vista. And before Alta Vista, I looked it up in encyclopedia, but.
Okay, so back to the whole child.
Okay.
Well, does anybody wanna, if we are gonna pursue the goal statement area first, does anybody wanna offer up a starting point? Or do we wanna come up with 4 or 5 objectives to build on it? I mean, that said, this is an overlapping area because our facilities are part of the well-rounded student, our curriculum is part of, so it's, right.
And you could see from the challenges here, one thing that really stood out with the other groups on this sheet is the mental health, emotional well-being, school climate, switch it up days, and then going down, there's other things. Being civic-minded was a strength, but also something we want to include. So I think that this is going to help us kind of read all this and kind of determine.
AP or honors.
That's a great-
And with the technology,
summarize
you
it.
can do it, individualized
It can be
learning.
done so easily with technology.
Yeah.
To maybe individualize,
For all,
As opposed to just an IEP.
just the high and the low.
Right, actually have, an individualized learning plan for anyone who could benefit from it.
And a lot of schools are doing that now, where they're using like Khan Academy, and the kids are self-paced, and then the teachers are there to kind of help and to help. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think the collaboration is a big part of the kids learning and learning how to be leaders, to work with other people, work in groups, and not just someone lead it, but everyone participate and get everyone involved.
I think it's about creating opportunities, for them to learn, make mistakes, grow, develop.
I think when they have those opportunities, then they're engaged. And
Right.
that makes a huge difference.
And make it count, and make it so you're making a flexible person, someone that's not used to, I'm told how to do X, Y, Z, or I have to follow, the opportunities to grow and develop.
I was shocked by 7th graders today saying something to the effect of, the more time you waste on YouTube doing nothing, somebody else is getting out of you somewhere in the world, right? Just so you know. What you said that to us. It's true.
Other objective right there, continue to upgrade facilities to be energy cost efficient. No, there you go.
Is the word sustainable in anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Possibly.
So that'll be another.
So we've addressed the safety and security, right? Yeah, in our objective, we've addressed the air quality.
Air quality,
Some for
okay.
class size.
We need some for class size now.
Pre.
Can we combine a modernized facility and sunset?
I think that might be
Efficient use of existing facilities.
Expand.
No expand.
Because that's a bad word. That costs a lot of money. So make existing facilities more efficient.
I don't know if we can get any more efficient really hard.
Well, the thing is, you have to use more than one school.
Well, I was gonna say, that's why it's balanced, that's why it's about
Balance the
balance.
schools, yeah.
It's about making,
So I think it then should be more direct in saying,
I think best use of facilities is definitely a key factor. You want to make sure that you're using all your facilities efficiently and effectively and getting the most out of every square foot.
I mean, I know we do it at the school I'm at, but I don't know what it's like so much there in the schools.
Design facilities in a way that promotes efficient, the most efficient. I started off there.
most efficient use of space.
Design
facilities in a way,
Say that.
most efficient use of space.
That
utilizes
space most efficiency, space most efficient.
Promotes, I
Utilize
would say
Most
that
efficient use of space.
promotes the most efficient.
Design facilities in a way that utilizes the
Maximizes
most
existing
efficient use of space. There you go.
Maximizes existing, use of existing.
Continue on the progress we're making. Okay, can we take our seats, please? And we wanted to thank you for all the work that you did tonight in the development of the goal statements and the objectives. You know, we had some larger groups, so it makes it a challenge when there's that many people and that many voices in here. But I think that you can see once, you know, we each take our turn reading these, that you can see how we did develop that roadmap. So to hear the work of each one of the groups, we're going to start with the first one here, facilities, class size, and security. So if someone from that group could come up, please, and share your goal statement and your objectives with us. Who's the lucky person, right?
But we didn't select it. All right, there you go.
Okay. It's your turn.
It's my turn.
Okay. So we were the facilities, class size, and securities group. And we actually started with our objectives and used that to write our goal statement. So I'll read our objectives first. Number 1, continue to assess and increase internal and external security at all schools during and after school hours. It was very important, we thought, to, someone mentioned that after school hours is definitely an area where we thought could use extra focus. Number 2, continue to upgrade facilities to be energy and cost effective and sustainable. Number 3, create balanced classes with low student to teacher ratios within the schools and across the district, across our 3 schools, Lakeview, Riverview, and Valley View. Design facilities in a way that maximizes and balances efficient use of existing spaces across the district. We had a few members of our group that were a little afraid to say anything about adding space, but we all agreed that we definitely could work on utilizing the existing space that we have, and we know facilities will be discussed more later on. Number 5, continue to develop, maintain, and enhance the existing facilities that we have. And we use that to write our goal statement, which was to create a safe and secure learning environment equipped to deliver 21st century educational expectations using efficient and sustainable facilities district-wide.
Very good. Okay, which one's next? Okay, the well-rounded student.
Can everyone hear me if I don't use the microphone?
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, but the
Well, pick it up on video.
Our goal,
Actually, if you could hold it just because.
We want, just for the people who aren't here. Thank you.
Hi. Our goal area was well-rounded students. We also, like facilities, started with our objectives. And our first was to encourage and facilitate civic, community, and global duties. We felt that it was very important for our students to not only understand what's going on in the school, but also in the community, to understand when they're doing good works, like in K-Kids, for example, to understand why they're doing it. Number 2 was to promote emotional learning through self-management and awareness, decision-making, and empathy. So Mr. McCabe, our school counselor from Riverview, was in our group, and he talked about how Riverview is using a program that encompasses all these things, and he's going into the classroom with Mrs. Sproul to talk about these things. So that was number 2. Number 3, expose all students to arts, sciences, and politics to find personal niches. And it wasn't just these things, it was other academic areas and specialties, which leads to number 4, provide access to education opportunities for individual strengths and interests, which one of our members talked about as being a T student, and apparently he would like to talk to you about it.
This is letter T. T-shaped student is a well-rounded student that also has focus. Right? So on your top, your T-top here, you have your disciplines, all your disciplines, and that involves teamwork, communication, perspective, networks, critical thinking, global understanding, project management. Then you have your T-STEM, where you have your focus areas. So from a young age, you start getting students focused on something that they're passionate about. There's one of the things that I was researching is there's altschool.com. They have a program for acquiring mastery in one or more areas of passion and having a broad base of knowledge. And that's what the T student is about.
maybe you can share the website with them.
Okay.
If anybody's interested.
Just search T-shaped student.
And all of those led to our goal statement. Easier for me to do it this way. Create an environment that fosters self-aware, resilient, civically minded, and empathetic citizens.
Okay, the 21st Century Leadership Group.
So we talked about 21st century and kind of what students are going to need in the future and what they need really today that they're not getting. And we kind of looked at all the objectives and all the things that were on our list, and then went back to our goal statement after reviewing all of them. We said that it is to develop a culture of learning that enables students to excel in the 21st century global community. So, and that encompassed kind of the foreign language aspects of it, collaboration, teamwork, and being able to infuse everything with technology. So that brought us down to our objectives. Implement personalized learning plans to encourage growth in areas of students' intellectual curiosity. Create an environment of collaboration, problem solving, communication, and creativity. Provide skill-based and real-world curriculum. Develop a shared responsibility beyond the classroom as a community, including peers, mentors, and family. And encourage a global and technology-infused proactive approach to all of the above. Thanks.
Okay, and now the student, what is it, student learning and curriculum group? Everybody's turning around, somebody. Okay.
Hi, I'm Kara. We started with our goal statement first, actually, to provide a rich learning environment based in the New Jersey standards that will challenge students at all levels with a standardized system to measure growth. From there, we had different objectives that we wanted to achieve. We have experiential learning and unique delivery methods to reach all learning styles. I guess we have another one up here. Oh, okay, offering rigorous curriculum. Going into that. And then we have 2, curricular alignment across grades from school to school, vertical and horizontal planning, which was important. That's the type. Expanding cultural and linguistic opportunities and options. So to emphasize cultural understanding and getting to know people. 4, obtain and maintain positive professional development for teachers and teachers in the same subject and grade. Expanding and infusing technologies. We talked about Chromebooks and how they're being integrated now and how we can do better or continue. And 6 was differentiating academic opportunities.
And well, hopefully we can see as a group, if we were able to implement all of these things, that you can see that your students will be well prepared for what it is they need to face. That I think you heard as a group that you've touched on all of those important skills that your students need. And it's important now that we have a plan that's your plan, that the district will now be able to, to implement and write that action plan to accomplish it. So I just want to say what a pleasure it's been to work with all of you, that as a group I felt like Matt and I both said that you were really focused on student achievement as a group, and felt like you really came here with the purpose in mind of really helping the district and helping shape this plan. And I think you can see the results of your hard work and the interest of all of you, and just want to really thank you for all the work that you put into this. And what we say is that we encourage the board to invite you to come back once a year and see what's been accomplished, what we're working on. Some things we're going to have to tweak because there's going to be things we can't even imagine that are going to come down the pike a year from now that we may need to make revisions to. But that's what's important, is that this needs to be a living, breathing plan that helps guide the work of the district for the next 5 years. So I thank you for being your work and giving us this plan to follow. So thank you very much. And I think that there's more that the district would like to share with you tonight.
Thank you. So we're going to do something a little different. I explained it a little bit in the email that you got. We're going to ask you for a little guidance in the how as well. Normally, we talk about the what, but now the how, we're going to ask you a little guidance. It's very important that you signed in and gave your email address, because I'm going to send you a short survey tomorrow. Instead of having a little card or something, we're going to send you a short survey in the morning to please fill out in the next couple days, and then we'll share all the data with the board on what your input is to help drive the board's decision on what we're going to do with facilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about facilities to show you a few pictures. Where's the clicker?
It's right there by this.
There it is. So I'd like to start off with a little background of where we've been, where we've come from, what we have accomplished so far. So we've been able to do all this stuff without asking the taxpayers for additional monies through a referendum. So before I got here, the year before I got here, we were able to get the Riverview roof done, the entire roof. We're doing sections at Lakeview and Valley View. We're down to about the last 15,000 square feet of roof that is actually in need of replacement, and it's on the docket for the summer. It's in this building. It's actually over the gym, which is next door. We have done repairs to the bus garage. As a matter of fact, when we did the work on the bus garage, we realized that the trim was holding up the garage. It's not a good thing. So we fixed the bus garage. We've done security improvements. We've improved our fencing, cameras, locks, fortified our entrances. We've sold 501 Opanaki Road, which was an old, basically condemned building that was closed and abandoned for the last 5 years. We sold it, and that money is now in capital reserve for projects. We've come up with a solution for the Board of Education central offices. Not sure if you know that, but when 501 Opanaki was condemned, they needed to find a place for the board office, and it's been in a rented space for the last 6 years. And as you know, the rent is not that inexpensive, and after a while it adds up. So we were able to find a place in the town hall, working with town hall to give us an area. We do have to do some renovations to it, but we no longer have to pay rent. So in a couple years, it'll pay off. We did site work at all schools. That's like curbing and paving and things like that. And also we had several areas that were leaking. We've replaced bathrooms in all schools. We've done environmental remediation. These are important things that have been going on for years here with some asbestos and oil. We did an ESIP program. ESIP program is a way that we were able to make some necessary improvements and repairs without going again for a referendum. We did $1.8 million, and we were able to leverage the savings on our energy spend, and it's guaranteed by Honeywell, to pay off the improvements. And one of the things is every light in the entire district is now LED. These things up here help push the hot air down. We have new rooftop units, all kinds of different HVAC. The waterproofing at Lakeview and Valley View, it's kind of weird, but there's been leaking in the district all along. Obviously leaking is bad, so we had to fix the leaking. We had some lead issues in our water. It's been going around. It's not like it's in the water supply. It's definitely not in the water supply. It was in the fixtures. We had all of our fixtures that were used for drinking or food preparation. We had them all tested. 12 of them came back hot. Some of them were abandoned because we didn't need them. The other ones were repaired. So they've all been replaced. You can see the new bottle fillers we have outside, and we fixed that. Some challenges in history. Right now, we do have what's called substandard instructional space. Every year, the Board of Education needs to approve a resolution, and I think it's just been kind of rote, because we were like, I didn't realize we had that. I didn't realize. But every year, the Board of Education approves a resolution to accept this stuff called substandard space. Substandard space is any children that are unhoused in a regular classroom. For example, a trailer, that's substandard space. Anytime they're housed in a classroom that has to be used a closet, that's substandard space. Anytime you're in a classroom with two teachers in the same room trying to teach two separate groups of kids, two different subjects, that's substandard space. So some of the reasons are, and these are good reasons, I mean, it's good things that we did. We did increase our need for kindergarten rooms from 4 district-wide to 8, because we went from full day, part day to full day. So that's a hard thing to overcome. We also, at the same time, went from 2 pre-K classes to 4 pre-K classes. These are special education classrooms. We want to be able to house our own kids. We never want to have to send a kid out, not only because it's not the right thing to do for the kid or for the family, but it also is expensive to send them out of district. So you want to be able to keep your children in district. I quoted the law there that says that you have to have bathrooms. So we have right now currently 4 pre-K/kindergarten rooms that have to get a waiver in the district. And there's a state law that says anybody in pre-K or kindergarten needs to have a bathroom. So right now we get a waiver because we say somebody's watching you go to the bathroom. So we need to fix that. Here's an example of what a Lakeview instrumental music, which they use in a storage closet. So it's an issue we need to fix. This is the shared basic skills and reading with a 3/4 wall. Evan Scala, who's here somewhere in the back, took that kind of cool picture. I don't know how he got that far away from that wall, but that line down the middle is the wall that splits the two. And it's only a 3/4 wall. It's about as tall as me. So the sound goes across, and those are some of our those are the kids that need the most concentration, not having more people interfere. So here's students walking from the trailers to music class at Lakeview, and I quote the law up there. The law is very clear that you can have a trailer for 2 years with 3 years additional on a waiver. Well, we've had them since 2006, so something needs to give, and we can't abandon them because we still need the space. We just don't have the space. We thought we would, but when we had to expand the pre-K, there was nowhere to put the kids. So we had to actually go back to the trailer after we had decided we weren't going to use the trailer, but there was no other way to do it except for really affecting some other programs. Here's the Lakeview Media Center. There's another great job by Evan standing up on something to make that picture. But you can see, if you see the picture on the right, if you see his vantage point, he'd be standing in the library taking a picture of over a half wall where there's 2 speech classes going on. Now again, speech is one of those ones that you need even more, attention and quiet than you do in even a regular class. Here's Riverview. This is definitely difficult. I don't know if the Riverview I know Riverview principal's here and vice principal, but I witnessed this myself, and the picture on the left doesn't really do it justice because there's about 20 kids in there, and then up on the stage, there's a few kids playing the trumpet. So it's kind of tough for the teacher to teach her regular music class at the same time somebody's playing the trumpet up on the stage. And then also they have a dual-use all-purpose room in the library that has a half wall, or 3/4 wall. So our counselors at Riverview are also based in the trailers, which, it's not the worst spot to be because it's not every kid, but kids do have to walk out there, and we really don't want children in the trailers. If we had to use them for offices or things like that, we wouldn't have a problem with it, but we do have a problem when it comes to housing children in there. So here's the inside of that trailer where you have, a little room on the one side for the one counselor. On the left, you see another counselor. So we want to try to come up with something for that. We did a demographic study in December 2015. This is the data we got. So you can see, if you look at it, there's a little bit of change coming down the pipe according to our demographer, and none of this is exact science. It's impossible to be exact on this stuff. So far, his 1 year out projection is pretty good. It's pretty solid. But as you see, there's a little bit of reduction, but not enough to really make an impact, like cutting a class, say, going from, we have 8 sections district-wide, going from 8 to 7. If you went from 8 to 7, you'd save a classroom. But we don't have enough to cut it. Our numbers are somewhere, they do vary, but we do have classes sizes of 23, 24. So if you cut it, obviously, it's going to go over what the board approved. Well, the board guidelines are, board approved guidelines is not a steadfast rule, but guidelines for class sizes in kindergarten and first is 23, second through fifth is 26, and don't quote me, it's pretty close to what I just said. So there is definitely a little bit of reduction in classes, in students, total students overall, but not substantially, not enough to actually cut any kind of sections. Facts, enrollment has gone down, and there's still a small reduction projected. The addition of full-day kindergartners add the need for 4 additional classrooms with bathrooms. The pre-K program has grown from 2 classes in 2013 to 4 in 2017, and each class is required to have a bathroom. Other special education programs have been added. So we want to have the programs in-house so we don't have to send children out of district for 2 big reasons. One is it's the right thing to do. If you can house your own students, you should. And 2, it's very expensive to send children out of district compared to keeping them in district. So here's some possible solutions with pros and cons. I just need to take a quick drink. I don't like the first one. I don't see that as a solution, but I've listed it anyway. It's a status quo, basically doing what we're doing now. Leaving the trailers. It's not a long-term solution. It does depend on whether or not we keep getting DOE approval. I don't really understand it. It's a 5-year maximum, but they keep approving it. I don't know. So eventually, they're probably going to say no. There is another solution. There's a couple other solutions. One is we could go out to the public for a referendum. We do get money from the state. This would solve our space needs and our bathroom needs at the same time. It would give us some room for growth. Our current debt would be gone as of 2019. I'll get to a debt slide next. The balance of Lakeview and Riverview students would actually improve because we do the addition at Riverview, not at Lakeview. We don't want to grow Lakeview any more than it is. And then we'd possibly be able to add other things that we had on our agenda, like security vestibules. It's something that we've had. We had a couple of security audits. It was recommended. It's just costly. It hasn't been something that we've been able to do yet. The cons, obviously, is a referendum. I mean, we have to go to vote. We have to ask the public, including myself, to pay more taxes. There's an additional cost. And it's a longer process, and it's definitely more intrusive when you do an addition at the top over a school. I mean, that's definitely, You know, if you added a second floor at Riverview, that's very intrusive. And right now, that cost, if we did that kind of a solution at Riverview, we expect it to be somewhere in the $10 million range. Addition to Lakeview, we could do a small addition at Lakeview. We don't have the funds currently, but we could we could get the money in the next couple budget cycles to do a small addition at Riverview using our reserves and our projected reserves over the next couple years. It's a shorter project, it's much less intrusive because it wouldn't be over a school, it'd be in the back. And we would solve our current space needs and bathroom needs. So at once we would fix, obviously we'd have to do both. We wouldn't just put the bathrooms, I mean, we would build rooms with bathrooms and move the kids that need the bathrooms to the new rooms, if that makes sense. And so that would solve our current problems. So a couple cons for that is there's no room for growth, and we don't address any of the balance of Riverview, Lakeview, and there's no other projects included. Right now, the projected cost is between $2.5 and $3 million for that. Here's what I wanted to give you this data because the previous boards have done a great job of not going to the public for referendum. They've done a lot of things, but there were some referendum. The last one had to do with Lakeview's addition. So right now, currently, actually in 2015-16, the average taxpayer, which is $403,000 assessed value, pays $54.08 per year for the local school district K-8's tax debt service, meaning paying off the loans from that big Lakeview addition that they did. In 2016, that went from 54 to 52. In 17-18, it goes to 49.85. In 18-19, it goes to 31.60. If we decided to do another referendum and took a $10 million loan based on what's up there, 4.25 projected interest rate with a bond sale of July 2018, obviously a lot of things could change. These are just projections. It would be, for a 25-year term, the new debt service would begin 2019-20, but we wouldn't be paying both at the same time. So it would actually go down a little bit and then back up to pretty close to where we're at right now. We'd also get a projected 20% back from the state. That's a low number. Right now we get about 27%, but our financial advisor likes to go low. So that means that not all of the burden of a referendum would be burdened by the local taxpayers. Some of it would come back from the state in aid. And then what else I got? The current debt's paid off in 2019. That's it for the debt. So now, what do we need from you? We need you to help decide the direction. Now, what we'd like you to do is digest this. I'm going to open it up to questions if anybody has questions. And then what we'd like you to do is I will email you tomorrow a little survey, a short survey. We're asking for your input and helping guide us to a solution. The three solutions are, and there could be a fourth one, so if you come up with something else that we didn't think of, please put that down. I'll leave a spot for that. Status quo. The second one would be going out to the public for a referendum and doing a larger addition at Riverview. And then the third one would be trying to, actually doing this, but it would take a little while longer. We don't have all the money we need right now, but we could do it in the next 1 or 2 budget cycles after this year. And then do a small addition at Lakeview and address the bathroom problems in one shot. Those are the 3 plans that we have, but we'd be happy to hear anybody else has other ones. Rob?
I have a question. What's the differential in the number of square feet you'd have with the small addition versus the large addition?
I don't know the exact off the top of my head, but I know it's a difference of like 4 classrooms to 9. And the 9 would also include other things, though, like there's an elevator. There would be, when you go up, there's other structural things you have to do. It'll also, with that 9 classrooms, we would address the need for a space for the special services department, because currently in our rented space, we have room for special ed and the rest of the central office. In the new space in town hall, we do not. So we have to find room for the special services department. We would love them to be where the special ed classes are. So the plan, if we did a referendum at Riverview, would be move all the pre-K classes from Lakeview and some of the specialized special ed classes from Lakeview to Riverview, and build an area for the special services department. That's just the plan that we had now, but all that stuff could kind of change. It's just the thoughts we had to try to alleviate it. One more, because there's somebody in the back. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question, two actually. For clarification purposes, there's a possibility of a small addition at Lakeview, but you had mentioned that you didn't want to build on Lakeview.
Right.
I mean, you don't, there's no space.
There's space in the back where the trailer is. There's a trailer in the back, so we could do it. It's just that it's one of the largest schools in the county, elementary schools. It won't increase the population though. This addition, the small addition, is just to house the kids we have, because we're not housing them now. So it's to house the kids we currently have and address the bathroom problem, okay? But it would make the school bigger in square feet, but it wouldn't increase the population of the school. The other way, we would move some of the kids to Riverview and decrease the population of Lakeview to increase Riverview.
So the second question is, in terms of the space at Riverview, is the only option to build a second floor? Or, I mean, I know that there's ball fields and things like that right behind.
That's a flood zone, so I mean, it would be difficult to build in the flood zone, because I don't know if you were around during the flood, but that was like 8 feet underwater. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there may be options. We haven't spent any money on this yet. So the next phase would be really to hire the architects to come up with some ideas. I brought the architect out and told him to give me a rough number on how much it would cost, and they go by a square footage number. They add in the cost of, you do have to rent some trailers temporarily, things like that. So, but when I mentioned it to them, they really didn't think that there was another option at Riverview other than going up.
Even just replacing the beach houses that are currently there?
Well, they're in the front of the building, so I don't know if we'd even get permission to build permanently out in the front, because it's too close to the setbacks, and we might be able to. That's an option, but there's room for two things. I mean, I guess we'd have to put a whole hallway in front of the building. It might look a little, off. I don't know. Go ahead, say again. I'm sorry, I'll be back to you in a second. Did you have another question before we go? Okay. So does the option at Lakeview solve the?
Either of the options, solve all the.
So all the two, other than not doing anything, the other two solutions solve what we currently have. The one at Riverview would solve it going forward, meaning we would eliminate the use of the trailers, we would eliminate the use of the dual use space, but we just barely make it. Like, in other words, if we needed another pre-K, or we needed to have another kindergarten, or we needed to open up any other like special ed class, we'd be maxed out, and we'd probably have to go back to something like moving the art into on a cart and have them go around. That's just another option. So the option at Lakeview, the small addition at Lakeview would only help us for our current needs with no growth. The Riverview one would help our current needs and have some room for growth. Not room for growth like if somebody built 500 units somewhere, but room for some growth. Kevin, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Steve, that's a great work. This is a kind of a sideline question. Over the next 5 years, do we expect, are there any statistics what we would expect in as far as student growth or student decrease in growth? I think that's going to be a big question
that's what we have. That's our 5. So 2021, year 2021, we're looking at Lakeview, a reduction of 39 kids. But you got to remember, that's spread out among 6 grades. So that's, not a lot of kids, enough kids to cut a section. Also, at Riverview, we're looking at 0, and at Valley View, we're looking at 33. So if you spread out 33, between 3 grades in Lakeview, you'd go down 11 kids a grade. None of them are substantial enough to be able to say, you know what, and this would happen if this is the case. Like, say we really did have a reduction. If we're looking at 100 kids up there, now we might say, yeah, we can actually go from 8 sections of every grade to 7 sections of every grade. If we can go to 7 sections of every grade, you pick up a room. If you pick up a room, now we start housing our kids in real, regular classrooms, not substandard space. And again, this is not an exact science. It's done by this Rutgers formula that the demographer used, and he's saying that he's expecting what we see up there. Like, if you think about Lakeview, with a 39 student reduction, you'd go down 1.3 students per section. You know, you need to go down more than that because they're already at like 23. So going from 23 to 21, I don't think we would cut it and go to 27, something like that. Does that make sense?
No, that all makes sense. That's
Okay.
good work.
Good.
That's going to be the biggest budget
Yeah.
that you're going to be
Sure.
getting from the public. So you have to be well prepared to explain.
Sure.
You've explained it very well now.
Great.
And that will need to be explained.
Sure.
To the public.
Amy had a question first. I'm sorry. We'll come back.
We did one with Plan B, what would be the tax increase to the public?
Plan B, which is was the second one, the referendum.
Yeah.
The tax impact on the public. Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way. So let's follow along. It's a little tricky, so I want to show you. Because in 15-16, you paid $54 a year just for debt service. Forget about the rest of your taxes. In 16-17, you paid $52. In 17-18, you're paying $49. In 18-19, you're paying $31. If we went out to the public and got this next $10 million referendum, your taxes would go back to $66.90 from $54.08. So you'd have an increase of about $12 a year from what you're paying in 2015-16. If you look at it from today, it would be about a $16 increase, a $17 increase from what you're paying this year. Does that make sense?
So add $10 when the Fed raises the reserve rate, right? Probably. Damaris, what's the percentage on 100 more basis points, 425 to 525 on 10 mil, do you know?
No, that's...
All right, so it's 78, so it's another $10 a year.
So I mean, look, we can only go by, right now that rate is lower than that, but she's thinking is a possibility to go up to 4.25. These are all the variables that are out there. We don't, you know, I can't be certain of what the percentage will be, but that's an estimate. And it's not by me. This slide right here was not prepared by me. It was prepared by Phoenix Advisors, who does this kind of thing for the majority of school districts in New Jersey. Somebody else had their hand up over here. Wait 1 sec. Did somebody else? No? No? Yeah, you did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to also point out you went from 2 classes to 4 for pre-K. Do you see any more need there with special
Yes, I do.
and space?
We're actually totally maxed out in the 4 classes. So we've made it, like, you know, you're not gonna do something now because we think we're gonna make it through the year. We'll figure out a way to make it through the year, but the classes are full, if that's the question. One of the things that changed, and I might ask Grace if I say something wrong, tell me, but one of the things that changed was early intervention, which is a state program. Some of the rules on who qualified for early intervention changed, and it actually helped to drive up our numbers in the pre-K. So just a couple years ago, you had 2 pre-Ks. Now we have 4 full pre-Ks. So yeah.
Do you predict more? Or in this specific?
I don't think it'll go down, but I think there's a chance we can get another class. I mean,
We get a lot of pros.
yeah. Problem with pre-Ks, you never really know because once they age in, you have to have a room for them. You can't say, oh, sorry, you know, there's no room, we can't do it. Then you end up having to send them out of district. I mean, look, these are children, but I want you to understand, like, one pre-K kid out of district is about $1 million over his career if he stays out. So if you put a kid out of district when they're 3, and we have to educate them through 8th grade, it's about $1 million per kid. So and it's very hard once you put a child out of district to get them back in district. Now that's not always the case. I'm giving you some generalizations because some children go out and come back. I'm only giving you generalization because typically, if you put them out of district, getting them back is difficult, and sometimes, you know, it's just not the right fit. So you can, you know, imagine having to put a kid out of district for a bad reason, like you don't have the space, and that's $1 million for one child. And you're not housing your kids that you should house. Go ahead, John.
Steve, question for you. So where's the steel going to go in Riverview? Do you know, or they didn't get to it yet?
I didn't pay for anything yet. That's the next step, but they would have to do like a skeleton around the outside.
So you got to, by the time you put steel above Riverview, how much space would you consider? How much would these guys consider above?
Basically the whole top. Like, so it's a pretty large space.
What are we going to do with all that space?
Like we said, we're going to raise everything from the downstairs upstairs, right? Then we're going to make the bottom pre-K rooms. Now pre-K rooms are bigger than regular rooms, so you're not gonna get 1 per 1. If you have 7 rooms in that hallway, the 7 rooms are going to become 5. It's not going to become 7.
So likely is based on where everything's going.
But when you mean everything's going, do you mean the numbers of the,
I mean where.
do we have your contact info?
Yes.
All right, great.
If you look at where we are in the economic cycle, I'm willing to bet you guys that rebar, cement, and everything else is gonna go up 10, 15%. Willing to bet it, right? So that's given, right? Let the architects deal with that. So we're gonna add how many square feet to the buffer?
I can't give you the number on the top of my head.
20,000?
I'm not sure. Anyone has it?
Hey, listen, I know you guys.
He gave, like I said, I didn't pay money on it. I had him give me a rough estimate of what he thought it would cost to go above Riverview. And also you'd have to do some renovations to their classes below, because you have to make them now like pre-K rooms, things like that.
But you're not gonna be able to run those classrooms when you forget the practical necessity of it, right? You're not gonna be able to run those classrooms while they put the steel above it.
Yeah, you have to, that's part of the cost is actually renting some temporary trailers that you have to
Okay,
use.
so then give me an additional idea of the delta of the soft cost, because we got people that might be on the Lakeview side of town, for lack of a better term, that are gonna come over here because they got more space, and we got bus costs too. So you guys are inheriting more bus costs, right?
No, wait, because we're gonna move to pre-K?
Well, no, we're gonna move somebody from over there to over here, right? We're gonna have to move them, right?
We have already. So we're started slowly with a redistricting plan of these targeted areas of just south of Route 46. We've started it already with the incoming kindergartens. We call it a flexible attendance zone now. So we need to start moving a few kids from Lakeview to Riverview. The thing is, the reason why there won't be really a lot of additional bus costs is because we're already busing some of those kids now. Because of the old way we used to do it, those areas were split areas. And we've already sending a bus for 2 kids. Now we're going to just have 4 kids on it instead of 2.
Well, look, I'm not going to put you on the spot. We can talk, right? So we're going to put something theoretically above Riverview. We're going to have to move those kids out for a period of time. So there's an additional cost that's not reflected.
That's in the cost. The architect included that in the $10 million cost.
A $10 million bond at 4.25% is going to get me in 2018 $31.60 a year on a $400,000 house.
No. You got to look at 2019, 1920.
I'm looking.
No, 1920. Look.
Okay, I'm looking.
See?
Yeah.
This is where you're going to be in 18, 19 because the old debt is ramping down.
I'm aware of the debt.
And then it's going to go to here. Then it's going to go to here if you do it 10 million.
Is a debt reflective figure, or that figure is a figure with additional costs folded into it for moving the kids out of Riverview while we build?
It's all part of the bond. All that stuff's part of it. It all gets rolled into the referendum, into the bond. You can't afford. I mean, that's a pretty big cost to do. To rent the trailers. Now, most likely we'd be able to use the 2 trailers that are there already. The principals and everybody know, like, you may have to do other things. Like, you may have to put art on a cart for a year. You may have to put music on a cart. But at least if there's a light at the end of the tunnel, people aren't going to be happy when you're doing it, but at least it's not the final plan. Right now, the final solution is having a trailer, having 3/4 walls and having these second, 2 classes in 1. That's the final plan now. So if you have a little bit of, and I know I'm looking at Tina because we've talked about this with everybody, there will be some time, especially if the referendum is the way, Riverview is going to have a tough year. We've talked about it. Kids are going to have to be in trailers for a little while, and you're going to have to lose like your art room and things like that to help house the kids that are there currently. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, obviously. I mean, that's what I listed one of the cons. I did list that as a con. I mean, obviously it's very intrusive. That referendum is very intrusive. But I can't imagine doing. What was that?
What time frame? How long?
It's at least a year, but it'd probably be a year and a half by the time everything's done. Probably a real bad year, but a year and a half until it's complete.
Is the board for it? Are you guys for it?
We're not for anything right now. That's what we're asking.
I'm just curious.
I mean, we've talked about all these solutions.
We're not for anything. We're listening to that. We're not for anything.
That's wonderful.
Right now, the reason why we're even doing this is because we want you guys to help guide us. Not just this 9 of us up here.
I love you guys. I'll guide you. No thank you.
I think.
Yeah, sure.
The architect that looked at the building, did he take into consideration any redeeming?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Of the decade and whatever.
Yes, he did. But again, we didn't pay for, like, serious studies. But again, like, this would just be, this is the direction. We're asking you for a direction. If the public feels like the direction should be, let's take a look at the Riverview thing, we probably would spend a little bit of money. It's not super expensive, but they would do a study on how much would this thing actually cost. We'd have better numbers. We're nowhere near ready to go. The vote for this, if we decided right now, we wouldn't even go to a vote until like March 2018.
There's one other factor, Steve.
Good.
If for some reason you have a lot of restructuring, rebeefing of the existing deck, that would be a huge disruption of classroom space as well.
Well, those rooms are all closed. During the addition, they have to all be closed. There's no way, yeah. We may temporarily have to move a class to Lakeview if we can make a room there. I mean, we're gonna all have to chip in and do what we can, you know?
Checking the cost of that additional space for heating, air conditioning, and whatever cost.
You mean like the electrical?
Yeah. You need more,
you might even need more custodial help, if possible.
So what has been do?
We did not get to that point yet. So it's just right now. What?
Speaking of electrical, who considers all roofs? It's brand new roofs. It could be potentially free.
Did you guys sign in? So I want to make sure I got your email so I can ask you. Solar. It's something we've always looked at. We'll still look at that.
My previous answer.
Good.
You know, one of the things I have a challenge with right now is clearly you're not asking us to vote on which way to go. You're really posing the question, should that discussion even be out there for a referendum or not? I mean, right? I mean, I think, I'm just trying to understand exactly what you're asking for today.
Tomorrow when I'm going to send you a short survey. We're going to ask you to say which option you think is the best option for the district going forward. And if you have a different option, please tell us what that is.
I think what you're asking might be a little bit too much because of the fact that there's still a lot of questions,
sure,
a lot of unknowns, right? I mean, because, and you even said just now that more additional studies will have to be done to have more concrete figures, right?
I guess it's like a chicken or the egg thing because we don't really want to spend, if this group here, our power people, right? That you've been with us through this thing. We're trying to ask you, this is the point of this, right? Is to get public input. If we can't ask you for a little guidance in this, then I don't think the board is even going to want to go down the route of spending money on because it's going to be a few dollars. It's not going to be free. It's going to be in the thousands of dollars, obviously, to have a guy come in and give us some of that information.
So,
see what I mean?
I think there's definitely value because we see the value, the classrooms, the bathrooms, etc. And so really now the question is, what is the general consensus of the group, sort of a case study or a survey, so that then you can decide on what to do next in terms of whether or not a more extensive study has to be done, planning for contingencies like cost of materials, and what happens if mid-construction there's delays or additional costs. Does that require another referendum or, you know?
No, they build contingencies for that. I mean, if something really, like an earthquake happened or something, obviously you can't do that, but they do build a substantial contingency in for that. They never want you to be like under money. That's the thing. So basically, yeah, we are asking for that, and I think that's what the board's purpose of this second part of the strategic planning piece, the second phase of this night, was really to ask you. And we're not saying that like whatever it is, if it's 60 to 56, that's what's going to happen. But I think if everybody like shot down one of them, like, wow, this is definitely not going to happen, I don't think there'd be a lot of traction among the board members. They can speak up if they want about it. Hold on a second, because you're second after the guy in the back. He's been having his hand up for a while. So I think I just want to make sure, and especially since some people are leaving, I want to make sure you're clear on what we're asking of you. I know we're putting you on the spot. Kind of like a straw poll of, hey, Steve, think about this. Maybe that is an option, and then come back to us with more information. That might be an option, but then they have to realize that there is a cost to that. Sorry, in the back, go ahead.
So just as a matter of food for thought, right? We are projecting through 2021, and I don't know if the projections go beyond that, but if we're thinking that there's going to be a decrease in enrollment over the course of the next 5 or 10 years, or however long it's going to be, what what is the need at this point to have expandable space, right? So if we do the construction in Riverview, we have room for growth. We're not going to have any growth.
Well, the problem is, like, I'll give you like the example. It may still be a reduction of kids, but a need for more rooms. The reason is, like, when somebody just asked me, how about your pre-K? It's like, so in other words, what I'm saying is, if we do the addition at Lakeview, right, we have enough just for what we have. If we need a 5th pre-K, we don't have the room. Something has to get moved around. And you go back to where we're at now with substandard space, a class without a bathroom, something along those lines.
How likely are we to need another 5th?
Well, we're teetering on it. We're maxed out right now. So I can't really give you that answer because these kids age in. They're kids that are being born right now, right? So, I mean, we have the live birth records, you know, of who gets born, you know, but then people move into the town, you know, and not only that, these classes can only be like 12 kids, right, Grace? So what if we're off by 3 kids? You know, now we go from 12, I need 15, you know? And now we need space for 15 kids, and that's another whole class. You see what I mean?
So it's kind of a monstrous cost and potentially a long and intrusive kind of construction possibility to have all of the space that we are going to need down the line.
Correct.
Right? Or put in less money and just barely make it and maybe get hoisted anyway if we spend $2.5 million.
That's the problem. It's like if we do that, if we spend the $2.5 to $5 million, we still may have to open up a pre-K and then bump art or something out of the class, you know. And I know Mrs. Baisley hates hearing about that, but that's the kind of stuff you'd have to do.
Well, she's not the only one that hates that. I mean, the idea of reducing already reduced art programs, music programs, and things like that. Their parents are like me. They think that that's really important. So,
sure. And please don't take this as a sky's falling down thing, because I don't want everybody to think that. I threw art out just off the top of my head. It could be music. It could be whatever it is. It could be, you know, you might have to make the library into a classroom, something like that. You know, there's all different ways you could deal with it. The one way I don't want to deal with it, though, is by not doing it the right way. Regardless of whether or not we spend the $3 million, no money, or $12 million, I just don't want to keep doing, you know, having a permanent solution, having a temporary solution be the permanent solution. That's what I'm trying to get away from. Good.
Steve, what if you were to work out an arrangement with the town, build a 2-story parking garage for the town parking bodies, or accommodate both the school and the town, and put the addition where the Riverview parking lot is?
That's an option. That may bring the cost down. I mean, we're not at that point yet. The only thing I asked the architect to do was 2 things. One, tell us if there's any other space we could do it without spending money. Like, is this okay? No. We didn't even.
You're going to have to spend money.
No, when I mean spending money on finding the answer. I didn't want to spend money on finding the answer yet. So what I asked him to do was say, take a look at our property here. Is there another place to build? The answer was no. We didn't bring it into the town. We didn't look at any of that. And then we said, okay, could we put something over the top of Riverview? Yes. What's the approximate cost? Trust me, I mean, he did not write a report on this. We were standing there together. He figured out the square footage, which I don't remember, I'm sorry. I only remember the 10 million because that jumped into my head. And he said about 10 million. He said between 9.5 and 10.5. So I said, okay, how about 10 million? I used that as my answer. That's where we got it from. So if this group says, yeah, go figure out if you need a referendum, but maybe look at some other options. Maybe something's 8 million and not 10 million. Those are all things that we'd be totally fine with looking at.
Because if you built the garage and used the parking lot for the addition, you wouldn't go through all this disruption of having to move everybody out of Riverview and you know, in the trailers and all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, trust me.
Stay in place and finish it up over the summer so that you just move back in.
It's going to be, like, that's something we need to take into account. Riverview is going to have a tough year and a half. It's going to be difficult. Go ahead, Jeff.
So what's the next step here? So let's hope no one chooses option A, because I don't think that's a solution at all. Say that there's overwhelming support for either B or C. Are you going to take this feedback from this group, the results of tomorrow's survey, and then you're going to go back to the board and see whether or not they're going to fund a let's call it an initial step?
Yeah, like a study to look at. at both options more?
Steve, can I just, everybody keeps asking, and the board's sitting up here
Oh,
quiet.
what the question was?
Just so you know, we just deputized you, all your board members. This is what we face every year when we look at a budget. So our administration every year comes to us as board members and tells us about our substandard spaces. Every year I've been on the board. And we make decisions, and often it's option A, which is continue along the status quo, or build these half walls, and you saw the result of what we've been doing. So this year, when they came to us early on in the budget process, we said to them, and if you go back and you look at the videotape of our meetings, you'll hear us talking about it at a board meeting. Please, we're about to convene a group of people to help us with a vision for 5 years. Let's not make the decision before they've become invested in the process of visioning with us for 5 years. Let's hear what they have to say. So yes, we've talked about it. No, we have not wanted to expend any money to investigate any of the options. We felt like you were going to be invested with us over the course of these 3 meetings. Let's hear a voice, and then we'll continue along the road of investigating our options. So that's why we're here with you, because we didn't want to, at the end of you visioning with us for 3 meetings, come to you and say, oh, well, we decided how we're going to fix our space issue, and this is what it is, and start talking to you about it. So we really did leave it on the table on the side. So yes, it looks like we're up here doing nothing, and that actually was our plan because we wanted to partner with you.
So what does the board want to do?
We wanted to...
We want to hear from you. Right. Well, all right, John, no, let's build on it. If it's no 10 million, are you good with the $3 million plan?
Listen, I'm going to give you a both rhetorical and practical question. How much worse is it now than it was in '08? Is it really that much worse? I mean, is the educational standard and result of this district that deleterious because we have blue concrete walls? I'm asking you guys, not this guy. He did a good job, thank you. What are you guys doing? What, do you really feel that these kids are leaving this district because they might have to share a space? When we did this work, way when we were old people, right? There were people in the halls taking music lessons.
I agree.
They did fine. Most of them went off to Hills, Knowles. Some went to Cornell, Ivies, and all of them did okay. I get it. I get the 10. I get the 2 million. My question to you guys is, what is your purpose here? You want to build some infrastructure? Or you want to teach some kids? Do you think teaching the kids and what we got isn't going to work? Why?
John, I think, and again, we haven't made any decisions. We're here to listen. No, I know, but hold on. One sec. We're here to listen, right? I mean, I said at the first meeting, we're 7 people. We don't have all the answers. I believe strongly I don't have maybe any of the answers. I charged everybody with coming in and listening. We wanted to listen. We wanted to hear what you all had to say. None of us have any preconceived notions about this. I think the one preconceived notion maybe I have personally is that, yes, I think we can do better. I think our facilities can be better. I think we can teach our kids better. I don't think anybody would argue with that. Does that look like a referendum? Does that look like a new building? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that yet.
So let me understand this. We can teach our kids better. We can always do something better. Sure. Are you saying we can teach our kids better with a $10 million addition?
I don't know yet, John.
Okay.
I don't know.
I get it.
I can break it down to something pretty easy. I'll tell you something pretty easy, especially now I'm a resident. This right here is not what I would expect to see in Denville. Definitely not. Not as a permanent solution. That right there, that's a permanent solution right now. And that's a trailer. And I would never expect a town like Denville to be okay with this as their permanent solution. To me, this is not what I say.
And obviously, facilities was one of the key points, top points
Yeah.
that came out of these 2 workshops.
And look,
I'm going to always bring it back to that, guys. I'm going to bring it back to this every time. What do you expect in Denville? Because this is not what I think. When I think of Denville, I don't think of this. That's a temporary solution used as a permanent solution.
The problem is the average age of a building in this district is 61 years old. That's the bigger problem. You're not going to remediate it with a $10 million Band-Aid. The bottom line is, unless you crash the building down and rebuild it, you have aged out infrastructure. What you're suggesting, though, is that somehow the educational process here is lessened because of it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, John, actually, you made a point at one of the first board meetings I went to, is that I think when education was first developed, right? The Prussians developed it, and a teacher sat in front of the room, and everybody sat in rows.
Correct.
We don't do that anymore, right? I mean, our education environment's changed. We talk about flexible classrooms, we talk about environments, we talk about turn and teach, and we talk about things that these buildings don't necessarily lend themselves to anymore. right? Is that a fair
That's
statement?
absolutely accurate.
Okay, so yeah, we can't crash these buildings and start over, but we can make modifications that make sense.
Well, you know what, that's a great point too. Because if I was here longer, right? Like if I was here 20, 30 years ago, I mean, this is definitely not the setup I would have recommended the way we have it. I definitely wouldn't have recommended a 700-800 kid elementary school and another one that's 350. There's no way I would have recommended that. Regardless of that might have happened anyway, but I don't think my recommendation would have been this configuration the way it is now. Yes, I know your hand up was up for a while.
So the demographics, I know Denville's under the gun for possible more affordable housing. Is that factored into that? Because
No,
that can change.
not the ones like that are just being talked about now, no.
So I mean, part of that argument that is, you would say, how would that change your enrollment if Denville has to add more additional units?
Are you talking about like the 1,000 unit thing that they're talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's something that's like way beyond what we're talking about. That's a school. That's a whole school, yeah.
Support your argument of more additional flexible space. If you're looking even, say, 200
Sure.
units.
Like we may be able to get by a couple of years while they're phasing them in, but yeah, I mean, you're talking about 1,000 units. You're not talking about,
But even if you say 200 units, I mean, how many more kids does that add to the district to already?
well, right now, the buildings like Essling Lake and the other one that they're talking about now down by like where Rattlesnake was, they're commuter villages. So you're getting a small number of kids. We're projected to have a total K-12 of 19 kids, K-12 in Essling Lake. We have about 7 now. So, we can absorb that kind of building, but like if it's a 1,000 unit building with that are geared towards families, no, we definitely can't handle that. I mean, that's, your hand was up a while, and I'll come back to you, Colleen.
All right, I know I'm a taxpaying resident, but the teachers are there every day. Is there any way we can get the input of what the teachers think is the best?
I'm going to include the teacher, everybody in here.
Can we see what they want? Because they're with the kids.
And
every
I'll
day.
share with you the results of what the survey tomorrow.
But would you be able to,
Sure.
to say this came from the teachers? Because I'm interested in what they say.
I could probably do that, yeah.
They're living it.
Yeah.
They see it.
Yeah, sure. And who had their hand up again? Somebody, yeah, Colleen.
So I don't know how many people here were residents when the Marshall's Regional District did their referendum in 2001? 2002? There's so much that goes into it. It's not just, can we spend $10 million, yes or no? It's this large responsibility to put together this packet of plans and financials and who's going to benefit and what's the demographic. And this is not just go ahead and spend $10 million. But if your survey asks me tomorrow, do you want us to investigate further? I'm going to say yes. Because $66 a month, and I know that, a year rather, I know that that's, not necessarily exactly what it's going to come down to, but that referendum was huge in our high schools and has made a remarkable difference in the learning of our students, for sure.
And let me just.
The man who passed that,
Right.
the man who passed that, Ernie Palestis, I don't know if you guys know
Yep.
him, he always said, I'm not getting a trailer. Once you get a trailer, you never get rid of them. And we still have those trailers in front of our schools.
Yeah, we do.
I agree with you, that's not Denville.
So just to make sure everybody's clear, it's not $66 additional. It's a total of 66 from a low of 3160.
So my point is,
Just
all,
for the
there's
additional
due diligence. that-
Just for the 10 million, yeah.
All right, so
Board is
then
going to do that.
you add to that all your carrying costs for the next 25 years on top of that, and how that's going to increase.
When you mean like
You're not getting
additional
teachers,
electric and things?
All of that.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Your budget's going to keep going up on top of that, right?
Sure.
So at what point, I mean, pretty soon we're going to be paying taxes like they do in
Yeah, but then I guess-
without the same type of school.
But then again, on the other side then, Carlos, I guess we'd also have to take into account that you're removing the trailers, you're not paying for electric and heat and maintenance of them.
But I think before that conversation even comes, you're going to get all this.
Obama gets his,
Trump?
when they get their voice in Washington, right? And then what happens when you start losing students and money that way? It's all Obama's fault.
Yeah, it's a lot. Guys.
One comment and a question. For what our taxes are, that trailer is exactly what you should expect. Because then you look at our taxes compared to the other 39 towns in Morris County, and we're about 18th, 19th, somewhere in there, maybe 20th in terms of how much money we spend. 70% of our taxes goes to our schools. About 42%, 46% of that goes to the elementary schools. So for the money we're paying, you get what you pay. The other question though, and John raised this, do we track kids past high school? Do we know what?
High schools now.
We do actually,
Where is this information?
we don't do like tracking of exactly what they're doing, but we do tell everybody where they're going to college. I don't know if they graduate college, but I know where they went. And we publicize that too.
Because that would be useful.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Somebody else had their hand up too, I'm sorry. Did you
Well, I
have
was just going to say, that would be a useful piece of
Highly
information.
relevant.
Because,
Yeah, I agree.
because what John's raising is the question of physical plant versus education.
Sure. Hey, our kids go to great schools. Our kids go to great schools. I mean, they do great things. They do. And yeah, does being educated in a trailer, does that make it any less? I'm not sure, but it's not permanent. It's 10 years old, and it's only supposed to be there for 5 years. If I wasn't up here saying this, I think that somebody should be looking to get a new superintendent, to be honest with you, because I'm just sitting back going, hey, temporary solutions are permanent ones. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm a teacher, and there are teachers in the room that probably don't want to speak, but I live here, so I will. I don't teach here. Physical space 100% impacts student learning. If I'm in a room where there are fake walls, no plugs, technology is limited, no smart board, I can hear across the wall, there's no privacy, it absolutely will impact the way a child learns. And I think our teachers, in spite of the physical limitations that they have delivered a great education to our kids, but they certainly can do a better job in rooms that are updated, and so that we can accommodate new learning styles, grouping, back tables, floor space, STEM learning where they're all over the room, and a lot of our rooms are small, and to have 23 kids in a room, that's enough.
Right. That's good. You can. I'll come back to you.
It's hard to follow that, but I really have a question. Is this something that we would need to dedicate a whole meeting towards, like having a discussion or further hashing out idea generation?
Yeah, James, this is more than one meeting. This is several meetings. But again, this really was about an opening. This really was about a discussion. And really, there was nothing more to this than having a free-form discussion and hearing what you guys think. If everybody said, no way, there's no way we want to have a referendum of any kind, well, okay, that's some input. That takes your temperature. But, again, so this is really, this is a long process.
And it's also with a group that's been invested in the process going forward, is informed.
It's also with a group that has a specific interest in it because their cycle is now at the start of this process and their kids are here. Whether my kids are in these schools or not has no bearing on it. We know that. We've been all through that, right? So you got to be careful with it. So if the plugs are bad and the back of the tables are bad, then take the 10 mil and put it into inside repairs inside the buildings and don't put any extra stuff up and do your best to modernize the building, right?
But then we keep trailers though.
Well, listen, we're the ones that put, a couple of us are the ones that put the trailers in under duress, but we had to live through the recession and do what we had to do. I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm pretty sure some kids in Zimbabwe are learning some pretty good stuff in huts. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm saying you're putting a lot of merit in the environment when the teachers are as good as it gets in this district, and that's a fact, because we've all lived it. So they have a pretty good strength of knowing what they're doing, and they can carry it pretty well. I'm not saying they should have to overcome the physical limitations. I think some of it's ridiculous. We have been through this. But these are about the best teachers we know of in Morris County, certainly in part of the state. So why don't we fix the plugs, fix the tables, and do the infrastructure? And listen, stop harping on the trailers. I get it. Believe me, I get it. We fought that long and hard. They're 5 years. They aged out when? 6 years ago? I get it.
Yeah.
Man, adding $10 million worth of steel and $66 a year to the taxes. And listen, it's not just about taxes. It just feels like not directed correctly. And I'm just trying to understand what you guys are thinking. You're having a dialogue, I get it. So, right, I'm the only guy that doesn't want it. These guys
No, I don't think that. I think there's other people that might not want it. I'm banking on the fact that the majority of people in Denver don't want that. I'm not saying that they want a referendum or they don't.
What's wrong with that?
I just don't think they want that.
What's wrong with that?
Because again, it's a temporary solution that's used to permanent. All right, whoa, let's get one at a time. We can't have like side talks. Anthony. We can't have side talks because this is going to get out of control. In the back, Anthony.
Sorry, bottom line is that it's substandard space. It's been, people have come through, they've looked at it for years. They've deemed the space that's there substandard. So I guess the question is, how much are we talking about here to get a plan? How much are we talking about to actually pay somebody to come in and say, let's look at what the options really are. Let's take a real strong look at how much it's going to cost if we did this, if we did that, if we did this, if we did that. And we come up with an actual real plan. I mean, if we're talking thousands of dollars, right? $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Yeah, something like that.
Do we have that in the budget?
Sure.
Yes. So, I mean, it's always, I'm always of the opinion that it's better to have more information than less, right? And if we come up with the idea that, look, it's not feasible from a referendum standpoint, after we get the information, then the money will have been well spent.
And you know why I want to piggyback off Dino said? Because it's important that it would have looked like a sham doing all this if we already spent the $5,000 or $10,000 to do the study. This whole thing would have seemed like a sham because then everybody would say, well, they already know what they want to do. So we're asking for your input to decide, you know, if you have a preference for some of the different choices up there. Wait, I'm sorry, John, because somebody else had their hand up for a little while, yeah.
And this is going to be very short and sweet, but why on earth would you spend 3 meetings and then some going through a 5-year plan for strategic planning to better our schools and then not investigate all the options? Why would you even shut down the referendum option without?
Do you mean why are we asking you, or
No,
why,
I'm saying, why
as
would
a collective
anyone,
group here?
after investing all this time?
I'll answer that. Why
Go ahead.
don't we present this problem at the beginning of the 5-year strategic planning session to
It was brought up in every single group.
Well, in the beginning, I showed state of the district. Remember my state of
And Carlos,
The state of the district,
yeah, Carlos, I can answer that. And it came up organically.
the second one.
No, right, it came up organically through the groups, and we had a lot of discussion about how much we wanted to present, because we really did not want to feel like we were putting our foot on the pedal and directing you guys. So we really felt like if it was going to come organically, it would come from you, and it did, which was, I think, great. So we made a conscious effort not to present it that way, just because we didn't want to feel like, you feel like this was already a done deal.
It can't be like Steve Forte's plan. It's got to be a collective group. That's the whole point. So if I had presented this exact slideshow before, I would have been edging you guys towards something. Instead, we pointed out the problems, right? We showed you some of these slides in the beginning, like I showed you some of that, and then we let you guys go, and you came back with, yes, facilities is something we need to work on. That was the point. Go ahead.
No patronization side, right? Seriously, we know what this work entails. We love you guys. It's very difficult. That was a very good upfront presentation. And no nonsense. The teachers here are unbelievably fabulous. Here's the question. Look at the end data. Just tell us from 08 to 17, where our kids tracked coming from here through Knowles and Hills, and if it dropped off as a result of trailers. That's all I want to know. You can get me that data, I'm happy. I'll sign on the 10 mil.
Sure.
Happy to do it. But that end data is as important as anything you're talking about. Nobody's really talking about it. I'm not saying the buildings are great.
Well, what's the measure, though, John? The measure is where they went to college?
For the most part, what's their, not their graduation rate, but where they go. How did they do? How did our kids do when they got out there? I think that's relevant.
Trust me, that's something as a former superintendent of a high school district and a former high school principal, I always wanted the data of what actually happened after they went to school.
Yeah, right.
But you can't get it, it's voluntary. The only data I can get is where they went. If that's the measure of success, you're going to be surprised that there is absolutely no change, because the kids are always getting to good schools, and they're still going to get into good schools. So I would estimate, and this is totally just trying to think about the data before I had the data, that it really wouldn't be a difference in where they went to college.
So then how do we make the correlation between substandard space and learning?
You don't, but can you
Well, Carlos,
be okay with that?
Should more be like, comparing scores.
Sorry, hands are up. I got to go back because Rob's been in the back with his hand up for a while. I'll come back to you.
No, what it's coming down to is you're talking about data from 2008 till now. But since 2008 till now, how many more mandates have been put out there? So we got away with substandard space for X number of years, right? Those years have passed, and yes, it worked. I took music in the hallway. I'm none the better for it, right? But now we're required. How many more you have? Since 2008, we've gone to full day kindergarten, right?
That wasn't a mandate. It was a board decision. Yeah.
Right, but that's going to be a mandate.
Right.
The state's going to require.
They will,
We're the
most
only
likely.
town that wasn't.
Right.
Now you've got same pre-K and everything else. So there is a need. So the need is there, and whether or not you can't have pre-K in the hallway. And what we're saying is, don't put your head in this, we're not putting our head in the sand anymore, and we've kind of done this for a little bit, and now we want to talk about potentially doing more. And that's all you're looking for, right?
Yeah, it's really trying.
The AK to spend 20 grand on an architect.
I think it's really trying to solve problems permanently rather than like the way the board office was solved with a rented space. That's not a permanent solution. It could be. To me, it's not permanent. It could be though. Same thing with, can you use trailers forever? I guess you could use those for like for 20 years until they fall apart if you keep getting the approval from the DOE. But, I mean, I think you need to have a plan. The last time the DOE approved it for us, they said, we're not going to approve it again until you have a plan. So, but they probably will approve it anyway, I'll be honest with you, because we'll just say, hey, we don't have any other choice. And they'll be like, okay, we'll use the trailer. So, go ahead.
So in one of the previous meetings, there was a slide that had information about all different schools and where they ranked. So that should be more of a metric. And comparing that from year to year, going back to...
That's our factor we put together?
Yeah.
That should help.
Well, that's a great metric for showing, like what you just pointed out, Bob, that if you're not spending, you expect that. Like when I did the comp group, and you were here still, John, I know you were here, I did the comp group, you guys saw it. You saw it. Out of the 15 districts that fit our comp group, it's every K-8 district, 1,000 to 3,000 kids in the I-factor districts, which is the second most affluent in the state. Not the Mountain Lakes and the Ridgewoods, but the Denvilles and the Washington Townships. It's every district from Somerset County to Bergen County that fit in there. It's 15 districts. We were number 14. So if you're number 14 in that group on spending on maintenance per pupil, you're probably going to have the 14th worst setup. I mean, it's not brain surgery to figure it out. Maybe you're 13th or 12th, but whatever it was, it correlated to what we spent. So that's a good point. Go ahead.
Well, basically, what the whole conversation revolves around is how much in taxes do the people of Denville willing to pay? If you wanted to advocate to get through a tax increase of $2,000 a home on an annual basis, you'd have lots of money to do whatever you want. You could tear these down, you could build new ones, you could do whatever you want. So that's the basic question. It's not just the facilities, because you can argue for weeks, as we probably will, about whether or not we should go for a referendum to spend $10 million on an addition and improvements and what's this, that, and the other thing. But basically, the whole thing comes down to who's willing to cough up what kind of money in taxes to fund schools. That's the question.
Sure. You had your hand up for a while. Yeah, I'm sorry. But you put it down for a while. Put up and then down, up and then down, so it's up. Good.
So real quick, so I have a child who's in the special needs ever since 3rd grade. And so he's in that split room. His problem is he has I also have to, his comprehension, it takes a long time, and his processor is low. So while he's in speech doing that, he's also in the next classroom listening to a child with other disabilities doing his thing. He can't concentrate on his disability, which makes him have to do more education with his disability, get more help and more therapy, which is costing us more money because we don't have the proper room for him to concentrate the way that he needs to for his disability. So the need for even just the more classrooms and the bigger walls, even just that simple, just raising the walls and having more room for the disability kids will eventually save us money because the kids will actually get more quality of services, I'm assuming.
Sure. And you also have less people trying to, being upset with your facilities and upset with your programs and going to get lawyers and spending money on lawyers, fighting back and forth and all that. Question, go ahead. I know you had your hand up a while too, back up and down a couple times.
I mean, the thing is, this problem's been going on in Denville 20, 30 years. Since I was a kid in this district, we've been talking about lack of space, Lakeview's the larger school. I mean, every time you kick the can down further, it's going to cost more money in the end. I mean, the cost of the dollar, your $10 today only buys you 8 in 10 years. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. It's been an ongoing, continuous problem since I went and grew up in this district. So really, it's one of those times we need to address doing something and just not say, hey, we'll think about status quo, whatever. I mean, study gives us information to tell you what your options are. I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's the best thing you can do, is to have the information to make an informed decision.
Sure. It's good, thank you. Sorry, your hand was up first.
I'm not super focused on the money, but have you looked into other locations for schools in case there's better outside the building for the pre-K?
Do you mean like buying a building? Or building a building?
Land to begin with. Like,
Land?
is there anything available that you could even potentially hope?
We own 30 acres on the south side of town.
Okay.
No, that really wasn't one of the options, just because that would be like
More.
10 times, probably 5 times what we're talking about. Because it would be a lot of money, yeah, go ahead.
I feel like we're kind of losing track here. That, I mean, we could talk about this all night, everybody has an opinion, but I'm getting the impression you guys are trying to take the opportunity. You've got an audience of this size that you never had.
Right, exactly.
And you want to get everybody's opinion.
And you're an
on
informed
the paper
audience.
that you're going to send out,
Right.
not necessarily in this group where we can all debate, because everybody has a personal
Sure,
interest.
sure.
And I mean, these guys are charged to make a decision on how they're going to pursue something they revisit year after year after year. And all they want to do is say, these are the options that we have. Which one do you like, or do you have something different? And I mean, I don't think it's going to get resolved in a group like this, but I think it's great that everybody's talking about it.
But you know what else has happened too? Because we've given you this is what you'd expected from us.
Right.
So yeah, this would make my life a lot easier, just saying, yeah, let's just keep doing it, you know, this and that. I get it, and it would make all of our lives a lot easier. But we don't want you guys to expect that from us. We want the bar to be risen, you know, up higher than it is now.
How much square footage is that whole area?
It's 2 regular sized classrooms.
Building, the whole area.
What do you mean, like the ground?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, there's 2 full-size classrooms there, right now. So like, say 24 by 24, 2 of them. Something like that? Well, am I right, or who is that?
800 square feet.
800 each? So 1,600 square feet of classrooms, but there's also, there's a bathroom in there, there's a little deck, barbecue. What was that? There's no barbecue, by the way, I just wanted to say that. No barbecue, John, no pool. Yeah.
But if you turn that into actual physical, like, permanent space.
That's the area where the addition at Lakeview would be built, right there.
It would actually be there if that was what.
If we decided to just do the smaller fix of the, you know, whatever, the building would go right there.
So
there would be another hallway that goes out the back.
So Steve,
yeah.
I think she put a pin in it really nicely.
Yeah.
I think at this point, it's about the survey tomorrow. It's, you know, obviously we've heard a lot. This has been tremendous. I thank all of you for coming out to as many meetings as you come out, 1, 2, or 3. This process for me was really illuminating. If any of the board members would like to say anything, you know, please. So, you know, thank you for coming out. Please complete the surveys. This is a process. I mean, you know, we're here most Monday nights, so come out to our meetings. And, you know, this is something that we'll be talking a lot more about. So.
And the survey's only going to the people in this room tonight because nobody else saw the presentation. Right. So we're asking you. There's about 65, 70 of you. We're going to ask you for your input. All right? We're going to pack it up unless you got something real quick, Rob.
Thank you very much.
I know a school that was just built for $3 million.
Let's talk offline. We can talk offline.